Welcome back, students. This is Art 125, Introduction to Computer Graphics at SUNY Broome Community College, located in upstate New York. And we're about to re-explore Photoshop. Just for those of you who are just starting off, which is probably most of you, I'm here on my personal computer at home. I'm going to go to Start at the lower left-hand corner and reopen Photoshop CC. As I mentioned before, each one of these video tutorials builds upon the one that just came before, so there is a lot of review. So here's a document that I had open. I'm going to close out of it and make sure for this particular project that we're on the typography mode. So we go up to Window, down the ladder to Workspace. As I mentioned before, there are many different types of workspace formats, and all of them have different types of applications. For this first project, typography is going to be our focus. So we're going to make sure we're in typography. And then, since we've already saved a document and created a document, including the word emphasis, we're going to go to File and down 2 levels to Open. And then we're going to look for that file. As you recall from the video before, I named it Emphasis Design. So here it is, Emphasis Design. And what we did is we chose a font called Impact, which is a sans serif. And we'll learn down the road what sans serif means. There's a lot connected with that. And what we did is we clicked on this little T icon over here in the toolbox, and we use what's called the horizontal type tool, which is the first one up on the top. And that's just essentially for just typing out standard left to right, right to left lines of type. So what I'm going to do now, if you go over here and look down at the bottom right hand corner of my screen, we have what's called a layers palette. And as I like to explain to people just learning how to use Photoshop, Photoshop is like a deck of cards. You have layer upon layer upon layer. So if I were to turn this eyeball off, emphasis would disappear. And in the same way, if I turn the eyeball off at the bottom, the white background will disappear. And I did cover this during the tutorial before, and if it sounds a little bit foreign, be sure to go and watch video tutorial number 3. So I'm going to turn emphasis back on, and what we did do is we played around with the font size, point size referring to the relative size of font meaning referring to letters, typographical forms. Down the road we'll learn about the subtle differences between font and typography. So what I'm going to do here is double click the T, and what that does, see how that's an active layer? I can double click that T and it will highlight everything. But what I'm going to do in this case is just click to the right of the A and drag my cursor across the P, H, and A. And for a quick review, show you how I can go up top below the 3D and View. There's actually an 84 PT, which stands for point. That's the actual size of the P, H, and A. Now I can use my keyboard arrows. On the lower right hand corner of your keyboard you'll see some arrows, and you can use the down arrow to bring the point size down, or use the upward arrow to bring the point size up. So what I want to do with this particular design is attempt to enhance the idea of emphasis through manipulating the letters in terms of the scales of the letters, the placement of the letters, and a few other little tricks in order to push the idea so that the word emphasis is actually communicated through the visual configuration of the design, the relative placement of the letters. I'm really going to try to enhance the idea. So we've played with point size. Now all of you can do this in your own way. Be sure you don't copy what I do, otherwise you'll be in hot water. So the next little trick we're going to explore is called a baseline shift, or leading. In graphic design, we refer to leading as when we move letters up or below this baseline. See, right underneath here, underneath these letters, there's this line. In fact, I can go to Window, Show Rulers, which I'll be going over and over, and going with my Item tool up top. Sometimes I call that the Move tool, but it's termed the Item tool. I can bring that down and show you the actual baseline. So there's the baseline. All of these letters are aligned across that baseline. So what I'm going to do at this point is actually highlight the P, H, and A and play around with what's called negative leading. There's negative and positive leading. I'm going to bring these letters below the baseline. In order to do that, I must go to my character box. So here's this character box, upper right-hand corner of the screen. Now if you have everything all mixed up and out of order, I did mention this before, you could go to Reset Typography, and that will put the character box back up. So another way to get to the character box is to go to Window, Character. You'll notice there's a lot of different options underneath Window for different tools, different Photoshop settings. So here we have character. If I click character and remove that check mark, notice how the character box disappears. But then if I go back up to Window and click on character box again, there's the character box reappearing. So I look over here and I'll see this little check mark. So essentially where all these little check marks are where things are turned on. So like down here is layers. I can turn layers off, or go to Window and turn layers on. So back to the character box. Since we want to play with the idea of leading, I'm going to go back to character. Okay, it's turned on. And then what I want to do is double click the T, so everything's highlighted, and then re-highlight. Make sure you're on your T for type, horizontal type tool. See, and I can just click with my index finger on the left side of my mouse and highlight those three characters. And then way up here on the upper right is this character box. What I'm going to do is actually grab it. I'm going to go. So in this case, what I want to do is bring the P, H, and A downward. So what I have to do is find that character box again. Go to Window, Show Character, and there's my character. And what I'm going to use is this little tool. It's down at the very, very bottom left-hand corner of the character box. Right now it's on 0 points. You'll see a 0 PT. I'm going to highlight that with my cursor and actually go downward with my arrow. And right now I'm at minus 20. So I want to center this to create more of a compact design. So originally this P, H, and A were resting right on the baseline, just like that. It was at 0 points. And actually, if I wanted to, Look at, I could go upward with that if I wanted to suggest emphasis this way. Now I'm 35 points above the baseline. But let me bring it back down. In graphic designers, a lot of designers that favor Photoshop, that design a lot of logos, this is a technique that is used quite a bit. So I'm going to bring this down to 30. Well, I want to center it. Let's see, we'll do 20 points. So there we are. We have that centered. So now I'm going to go back to File and Save, since we've already done Save As. And that's basically your baseline shift, or moving the letters off the baseline. You can do it positive, you can do it negative, just with this little tool. Just for another review, if I wanted to double click like that, or go to my T, see, I could double click and do everything at one time, or just click on the T for type and just highlight one letter. So I've just highlighted the H. So I could do the same thing essentially with that one letter. Now look at how I'm bringing this H up. In fact, I think I'll use this for my design. I'm going to take that H and actually center it right about there. All right. Now, save.